responsibility. It's not going to be in the history books if we leave our heritage to being printed or taped like this to the whites. We need to inform our children, teach our children, cause them to say, I'm black and I'm proud. How are you going to change a government that holds their hands out and shuts their eyes while these drug cartels fill it?
Isn't it amazing that we have a war on terror? We have a war on all of these things that the government determines to be huge priorities and threats to United States stability. And we have heard in times past an announcement that the government has.
Now they're not going to, we go to them and say it's wrong.
There is no war on drugs.
Don't care about what's wrong. I'm making money.
The war on drugs, if we can get to other countries and invade other countries and send thousands of troops and billions of dollars, then you can't tell me we can't stop drugs in our system.
I refuse to believe that law enforcement cannot name those people and go after the ones who are really making the big dollars.
I really think that a lot of problems we have in the community is a result of us not all coming to the table and dealing with it. Everyone thinks that they have the answer without being able to work with other people at the table.
Drugs. You have a large addicted population who are victimized by current laws in the sense that they are incarcerated, swelling our numbers of incarcerated people when they should be in treatment.
Many of those who have a problem with alcohol and drugs also have a mental health disorder.
Attempting to anesthetize ourselves from some of the pains that we are having to deal with on a daily basis.
We can't excuse government. You can't have the FBI say and admit that during COINTELPRO, in our attempt to destroy the movements of Malcolm X, Dr. King, etc., we flooded the projects of our nation with drugs, and then have the symptoms or the ramifications of it show up today and say, our hands are clean.
We are a community and culture of people who are having to deal with many of the challenges that our white counterparts are not having to deal with.
Our nation participated in bombarding its own people with drugs. Now, today, in a current sense, when you say who is responsible, the kingpins, the Madison Avenue businessmen who finance, and the runners who own the planes that import from other countries, and the politicians in Washington who do not enact tough laws that prohibit the flow into our nation from Mexico, Colombia, and other countries, that we are the greatest consumers of their national cocoa product. So we have to decide that our society means more to us than a trade agreement with you if your country pours this poison into our country.
And what you see at the grassroots levels and the street hustlers, for which I am a former street hustler, selling drugs.
Somewhere along the way, it was determined
choices that we have made that have destroyed our community.
Once you get a person started, they find out that they can't stop until the drug is gone or the money is gone.
You don't see them in high, well-educated communities.
Once the money is gone, they're going to find other ways and means to get more.
Although there may be users, recreational users of drugs, but you don't see them on the streets. You don't see them standing on corners.
But most of the shooting when they come down to drugs is either somebody owing somebody money or somebody trying to take their turn.
It's one of the two things.
The African American community is picked out like it is for liquor stores.
It's a business to the drug dealer.
What they do is only apprehend the people who are making the drugs here.
It is our children that we are burying. It's our children that are becoming HIV infected and impacted. Our families that are afflicted.
If you drive in other neighborhoods, you'll see very few liquor stores.
Because when you look at the larger culture, the dominant culture, you don't see the same kind of crazy numbers.
You drive into the African American community and you'll see them all over the place.
They hire people.
Availability of them being there.
There is more drug activity in the wasted areas in the inner cities.
As it is in the suburbs, and in some cases it is different drugs.
They have lieutenants.
Our community.
And all kinds of people working for them.
The African American community's fault.
The violence and the killing
Sergeant
is happening
for not insisting
in the inner city.
We're not going to allow pushers in our neighborhood.
This is unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
Because they're not allowed in other neighborhoods and they'll stand out, we end up all in our neighborhood.
There's a new oppressor that's oppressing black people and minorities in the inner city. And we need to begin to confront that oppressor.
You got young people that's dropping out every day, school every day.
The same way that Malcolm, Dr. King, and our foreparents did during the movement in the 60s.
It has to start somewhere.
Without an education.
We've got to get people healed.
Without any kind of a training.
Healed in their minds. They have to know that there is a better way.
They are going to become a part of the mix of the community.
You know, that you can't drown yourself, in a hit.
We are allowing this violence to be our new normal instead of standing up and saying, enough is enough.
There's a way to have a sustained high, and that high comes in loving yourself and knowing your creator.
It is out there in the streets for somebody who have no knowledge, who have no training, who have no education. The thing that they see and the thing that they're going to be introduced to is violence and drugs and all of that.
We don't own poppy fields.
Where it is grown, and second, for the countries in which it comes into.
We don't own any of the things that we're using.
In terms of our enforcing the importation.
Because we don't own it, you have to go back to the owner of the system.
They can put anything out there that they want to.
Until we can be honest with ourselves about where the information, the drugs are coming from.
You've changed a mind.
They're not coming from us, we're utilizing them.
If you have a person's mind set on excellence and that the fact that they can do better and that they are better and they are more, they're more than a number, they're more than, a race of people. I believe if you could change a mind, then you could change one's dependence on any type of substance, be it alcohol, drugs, guns. These things that we're dealing with, they're very symptomatic.
And some of the other social ills that are plaguing our community that leads us to this drug culture, which a byproduct of that is violence.
How can we stop drugs in our community?
You will not stop the drugs.
Ooh, that's a hard.
As a parent,
we need to eliminate the need with our children, youth.
You will never stop it.
We as a collective can alter the course of history at any time we so desire.
If you don't get the leadership,
try to keep them from getting into that scene so they won't have the need.
I should be doing my best to make sure that my child
to stand up and have some courage,
knows that that's not a thing that they should dabble with.
To fight back at the system that creates a lot of this stuff.
We must speak with one voice. There must be one sound and one move.
I really think that a lot of problems we have in the community is a result of us not all coming to the table and dealing with it. Everyone thinks that they have the answer without being able to work with other people at the table.
Not allow the enemy to deceive us.
We're talking about
us into thinking that Pookie and them
a population of people
are the drug dealers
who are sometimes just caught up in an addiction.
If you're going to deal drugs,
others just have this desire to be a part of the crowd.
The real drug dealers,
which I'm not condoning it,
the folks who move it from Afghanistan and get it over here to the U.S.
If you're going to deal,
and folks who move it from Mexico up to the U.S.
What about setting up some schools for our children?
And what a lot of the drug dealers or people committing crimes don't understand, how can you run a productive type of business when most of the time there's the violence involved in that business? You're killing off your client base.
So we're talking about one level of people who abuse the drugs, and and a level of people who are just addicted to the drugs.
The drugs are going to eventually kill them. If they don't pay the drug dealers are going to kill them. Then you have the stick-up boys who are shooting and killing the drug dealers.
You have the drug dealers who are addicted to selling the drug.
So it's a vicious circle, and none of them end up winning.
The need to have money.
You got to understand yourself first, and appreciate yourself and have a plan for where you want to be in the future for yourself, because there's no future in drugs.
I don't think anybody can make me do anything.
The need to have power
that I don't choose.
You could also call that one who has greed.
And I don't want to hear the excuses about there's no money, we need jobs, we need this.
Many of those who have a problem with alcohol and drugs also have a mental health disorder. Oftentimes, a person just doesn't know what to do.
In order for, I don't know anybody walking around saying, here's a job.
Many of those who have a problem with alcohol and drugs, a person just doesn't know what to do. Homelessness, with the job loss, family loss.
Or shoveling snow.
And if people knew more.
Or being your own entrepreneur.
About addiction.
Owning your own barbershop, your hair salon, doing nails. You've got to find something that you like to do.
Drug abuse, and about how one can identify the need for treatment and be willing to get the treatment and stay and then go into recovery. We'll see a change in our neighborhood.